Welcome, everybody, to the NFL show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host for the NFL show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in our co-host. As always, first up, we got the Bears jersey today, Sam Teets. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great, Mike. How are you?
I am doing great. Our other co-host, of course, is a white circle with a picture of, it looks like a female in the middle of it if you're watching video. And that would be, of course, Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing awesome, guys. How are you?
I'm all right. We are live on Facebook. I just checked it out. It actually works. So if you see me look over, that's what I'm looking at. We have a special guest today who wanted to come on and pick everybody's brains. It is normal. He's probably got something that'll induce an argument. Help us welcome NFL and NHL beat writer Sam Mcginnis. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing good. Ready to go.
All right, let's start off here. We'll go with Anthony since he's in Jersey, close to where the Giants are, and they should be his team since he doesn't live in Dallas and has probably never even been there.
I have.
But Anthony, anything to – okay. Any truth to the rumor that the Giants may be considering Justin Herbert?
I did see that leak. I don't exactly – I don't see a point when you have Daniel Jones and you took Daniel Jones where you took him. So they could be looking into him, but why?
All right, and Sam Teets.
Yeah. No, I think it's very interesting, but it's a Dave Gettleman move to leak this. I think maybe it's intentional on his behalf. I think they're trying to put things out there to maybe get a team interested in trading up and trading ahead of them or trading with them to land a quarterback. I don't think they would take Justin Herbert, but if they did, it would just be the best thing ever. I would love that. I'd love for them to draft Justin Herbert year after taking Daniel Jones. It'd be terrific.
All right, McGinnis, you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it depends on what their strategy is exactly, because if they're looking to make two young quarterbacks fight for a starting spot and make them better, that could potentially be the case. But if you're trying to invest in one or the other, I feel like they should just keep going with Daniel Jones because he has had success. They just need to pour into him now. You can't go for the next thing every single year. It's never going to flow for you that way.
Yeah, let me add this. I don't think there's a clear upside of Justin Herbert over Daniel Jones. I don't think there's a difference you can say because we've never seen Justin Herbert take an NFL snap. And we know what Daniel Jones is. If he cleans up the fumbling, he's not a half-bad quarterback.
Yeah.
And we've never seen what Justin Herbert is. There's risk in taking a guy like that when you already have someone who you know you can work with going forward.
You know, unless the Giants are in the mindset.
Yeah, and Anthony, it's not like
I was going to say, unless they're in the mindset to where they're going to take Herbert and try to hold the team hostage, but I think that can ultimately come back and shoot them in the foot.
Yeah, and I think that Daniel Jones showed us a lot more in his first year than a guy like Josh Rosen did when he was in Arizona.
Yeah, if there's any team that could pull this off, it would be the Washington Redskins because I think they're in a similar situation as the whole Josh Rosen thing. Much different than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, aside from the turnovers, looked the part. Put points on the board and move the football, where a guy like Josh Rosen and Dwayne Haskins, they didn't.
Yeah. So what's our take on the OBJ situation, Sam Teets?
Yeah, I mean, it's not unheard of. There have been rumors going back and forth. They were looking to trading him. The one rumor was the Minnesota Vikings, and that got shot down by Adam Schefter and a bunch of other guys. But then more rumors came out the other day saying, well, actually, Cleveland is open to trading Odell Beckham Jr. because he hasn't meshed well with Baker Mayfield. And that, to me, makes sense. I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. is a guy who, in New York, caused problems with his attitude. And they're concerned about him being a diva. And concerned about him not meshing well with the team. And so, to me, the fact that they're saying, oh, he doesn't mesh well with the Baker Mayfield, that makes sense to me. I could understand if they're willing to trade him just because he doesn't fit in that locker room.
Yeah, Anthony, what do you think? I think that there's so many skill position players in Cleveland. There's a lot of other things you may be able to fill if you do trade OBJ.
Yeah, see, the reports are saying that everything is false about trading OBJ, and I don't really buy it because when the Giants initially traded him, David Gettleman said we weren't trading him. GMs in the front office will say a lot of things and then go and do the next thing. So I think Odell Beckham Jr. is on the trade block, and he'll be moved by the end of round 1. I don't buy what Cleveland's saying.
Yeah. What do you think, Sam McGinnis?
I think I got to agree with Anthony here. OBJ can be a lot to handle, and I think if they do it better than the Giants did, they can get some decent value for him as well. More than the Giants, I would hope.
Yeah. All right. So, Sam McGinnis, I know you had some questions you wanted to bring up for the panel.
Yeah, so I was looking through, and when we first saw that Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, I was actually a little surprised by it, because at first I was thinking maybe he would go to Dallas because of the Dak Prescott situation. But that didn't pan out, so he went to Tampa Bay. And I've heard, it's a great move and such, but I had a few concerns that I wanted to hear what you guys had to say about these. And the first one I wanted to bring up was the Heat. Tom Brady, in his top 6 hottest games that he has played in, is 1-5, and here's some averages to consider. His completion percentage is 55 to 56%, depending on whether you round or not. His rating is 76.2. He's had 5 interceptions in those 6 games. 216 yards is his average. Sam Teets, what do you think about the Heat and Tom Brady? Will it be harder for him to play in Tampa Bay because of the Heat, or are these for different reasons other than the Heat that he lost those games?
I think it could be an adjustment, certainly going from a more cold weather situation in New England to a more warm weather situation. But at the same time, you talk about the 5 hottest games. I don't think it's going to be a hottest game scenario every time they're in Tampa Bay, because you think about he's played for 20 years now, over 20 years, so he's had some really hot games, yeah, but that's probably more of a outlier than the norm for Tampa Bay. So while it will be hotter, it won't be constantly be a top 5 hot scenario. And I do trust Tom Brady based on everything he's done so far. And I think the weapons he's got now would probably exceed the weapons he's had at any other point in his career, maybe with the exception of the Wes Welker, Randy Moss seasons. So I do think that there are some things he'll have to adjust to, but I have faith in the offense. I have faith in the coaching staff, and I have faith in Tom Brady that he'll be able to make the adjustments.
Yeah, and speaking of new adjustments, he's also going to have a completely new system to, 18 or 16 years with the same team. He now has to play with a completely new team, and he may have less time to do it as well because of COVID. Anthony, how do you think it's going to be to adjusting to all this new playbook, these new players, a new coach, because he's going to have less time to do it now that practices and such are going to be canceled?
Well, going back to the first question in terms of the weather, if we know this information about the Heat, Tom Brady certainly knows it. And just because you can't practice right now doesn't mean that Tom Brady can't put himself in a situation to where he's training in adverse heat. We see players who go to Denver, they have the altitude mass. So I think this is something that Tom Brady is going to he's going to weather the storm in terms of the heat. And as far as adjusting to a new playbook, I think they're going to have the most difficult time transitioning in any scenario in the beginning of the season. If we don't get normal practices, we're going to see a team like the Ravens who want to run the ball. We're going to see these run-first teams come off to a fast start, and these passing teams, they're going to be late risers. So it's not just Brady. I think any passing team or any quarterback in a new situation, they could have an issue starting up the year.
Yeah, absolutely. That altogether would make sense, especially since the dynamics of running can be a lot simpler than all the different motions that passing can bring. Obviously, there is another issue, and that is the age of Tom Brady. Here's the thing. Regardless of who you are, every athlete is going to slow down and eventually stop being able to play at the level, regardless of who they're with. Eventually, age will take over. I'm not saying it will happen this year. There is potential for it, but how much do you think, Mike, this will affect Tom Brady coming into this next season? Also, Anthony's gone.
His age?
Yes, his age.
Anthony's back. His age. Well, number one, he's almost a decade younger than me. And, Sam, you've seen me in practice. There's no doubt I could probably be successful playing at an NFL level right now, quarterback, don't you think?
All right, then.
Why are you laughing?
Funny.
I would say this. Last year, his season was pretty good with not much around him. And the other thing, you bring up the warm weather, but also if you're 41, 42 years old, I would much rather be playing in warm weather than I would cold weather. Because number one, it's a lot easier on your body. You're going to loosen up a lot easier. And I think in the long run, this helps him. The other thing, when you're talking about his hottest games he's played, you got to remember probably all of those games were on the road.
Yep.
And a lot of those games were at the end of the season. When you get weather, they have a tendency to lose to Miami, but they're losing to Miami when they've already got everything clinched. And Miami has nothing to play for, and they're just trying to make their season by winning. So I think when you look at that, I think that you're nuts, Sam. And I would say this, if you go back and you look at the first 3 home games of the season for the Patriots every year, it's probably 80 degrees every time. What's their record then?
Actually, funny enough that you bring up the fact that these games were later in the season. I believe more than half of them, or at least quite a few of them, were at the beginning of the season, actually. When I was looking at it.
Yeah, what's your point?
My point
what
is,
was the record where did he win the game, at the end of the season or the start of the season? But you also use such a small sample size.
That is true.
You used a sample size of 6 games for a man that has played 2 decades.
Well, let's
so how about this? Go back
record.
And look up
his cold record games. If you
and he's what?
His coldest games. On the other hand, if you want to swing to the other end of the spectrum, he's 13-2 in his coldest games. So I would definitely see this as a trend.
Yeah,
for sure. He plays better in the cold. So I'd actually say that because he is used to it, because he's played so many seasons or whatever the reason is, he is better when it is colder, which would also be beneficial for later.
But once again, that's kind of what I'm saying. Later in the season, when it's colder, they're not going to play every game in Tampa. And this is the thing. Tampa's not Miami. It's going to be warmer, but it's not going to be 85 degrees with, a ton of humidity and everybody sweating their butts off.
Yeah, well, you've also got, one of the games was in Jacksonville, and I think we all remember this. The funny part of that, he actually played pretty well. It was more the rest of the team that didn't perform that specific game. But Jacksonville.
That's the thing. Did you look at what the stats were?
What?
Did you look at what the stats were in the 60? I mean, he could have come out and gone 32 for 40, and they just didn't stop the run.
Let's look back at some of the stats. I talked about his averages over these games. His average completion percentage is 55%. His average rating is 76, with the lowest being 58.7. His average yards is 216, and in 2 of those games, he had 2 interceptions, ultimately resulting in 5 throughout all 6 games. So he didn't do very well all but one of those games, and that was the recent one versus Jacksonville.
But he's won 6 Super Bowl rings.
Right, but we're talking about hottest games, not Super Bowls at the moment.
Well, Sam, you're right, but you're right, but he's played in 285 games in his career, and you've taken 5-game sample. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong about those 5 games, but
pardon me, six games, but you are right. It's the same.
Yeah, it's a very small number compared to the 285 he's played in throughout his entire career. So I think what Mike's trying to point out is that even though you had the sample size of these 5 games, you could say, yes, he's played poorly in these 5. You would have to expand it. If you did like a top 20 or top 30 games, I'd be more willing to believe that scenario. But only taking 5 games alone probably is not reflective enough of his entire career.
Well, another thing you have to consider when it comes to that, he hasn't been in that many hot games, period, because oftentimes he's playing in New England, and a lot of other times, he plays the Jets. He plays a lot of teams and plays in a lot of situations that are colder or normal levels. So there aren't that many games to compare of at all in the first place.
So let me ask you this, Sam. So I think it's safe to say, since you kept the sample size to 6 out of 285 games, and that you don't really like Tom Brady, then maybe you skewed the statistics for your argument.
I mean, you can look him up, but you'll find the same stats. I pulled him off of NFL.
But I'm not going to look. If I want to look up something that's a trend, though, correct me if I'm wrong here, Anthony. I'm not looking up 6 games out of 285.
No, you need to take a bigger sample size, and not just go with 6 games unless you take the 6 most recent games, but I also see where he's coming from, taking the 6 hottest games. The thing with statistics, you can usually make any case you want with any combination of stats.
Yeah. So you agreed that Sam skewed the stats in his favor. All right. What do you got next, Sam?
I think the next thing I have to cover here is actually less to do with Tom Brady and more to do with the Bucs defense. It was 15th. Tom Brady is used to the top 5 defense in the league. He had the number 1 last year. Is it going to be harder for him because he has specifically the top 7's pretty nice, but the secondary is really a bigger issue for the Bucs. It's going to keep Tom Brady off the field more because of the defense. How do you think that's going to affect him in general, Sam?
Well, I
would say this. You look at the Bucs last year.
Go ahead, Mike.
The Bucs last year, their DBs were hurt a lot. They weren't running with their starting DBs very often, were they, Sam?
No, I don't think they had a lot of different issues with their defensive backs. They were rotating a lot of guys in. But you also think you have to look at the run defense for Tampa Bay. Last year, Tampa Bay finished first in run defense, allowing 73.8 rushing yards per game, the second closest to the Jets at 86.9. So they led the NFL by 13 yards in rush defense. So it wasn't even close. So I think Tampa Bay has a lot to work with, really, on defense. I know they need to improve the secondary, but you still have the draft to do that. There's still some free agents out there like Logan Ryan, who's been with Tom Brady in the past in New England, and also played with the Tennessee Titans last year. So there are guys available who can help you out. And I think you should address that in the draft along with the offensive line. So I do think Tennessee has some issues right now, but I think they can fix that before the start of the season.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
We'll put it like this. Let me ask you a question, Sam.
All right.
You know what the Patriots lost in the offseason. You know what the Bucs have. Tom Brady has a better chance to win in Tampa Bay than he does in New England right now.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair assessment.
True or false?
True.
All right. Then why do you keep arguing this point?
I'm actually not even saying he won't be successful. My current prediction is 10-6. I'm asking how these specific issues will affect him. So understand, I'm not coming from a perspective of he is going to lose.
Specifically, I think Anthony can speak to this. You there, Anthony? He's got himself muted.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so I think the other thing that we're missing here with the Tampa Bay defense is how often Jameis Winston turned the ball over into short fields and made the defense look bad.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Their front 7 was outstanding. Their back end was young and experienced and also put in bad positions throughout the year by Jameis Winston. When you look at Tom Brady, can you see him turning the ball over more than 10, 12 total times between interceptions and fumbles? Where if you look at Jameis Winston, I think he had right around 35, 36 total turnovers when you take in consideration the fumbles too.
Yeah, it was definitely more.
Yeah, and remember, that was a team, Sam. That was 7-9 last year. If you turn Jameis Winston's interceptions from 30 to 18, they probably make playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. And it is their biggest issue, I would say, even beyond the secondary, was, in fact, the quarterback situation. So this was a good move to go for a quarterback. But this secondary is going to have to face a lot of very good quarterback and receiver combos. I mean, you've got to deal with Atlanta. You got to deal with Drew Brees. So they're going to play both those teams 2 times a year. So they're going to have higher competition when it comes to better quarterbacks.
Yeah, but how about this? They're also, those 3 teams with the high-powered offenses are going to have to deal with the front 7 of Tampa Bay, and those wide receivers can be negated if you've got a pass rush that is in the quarterback's face all day. And let's face it, Drew Brees is not real young. We don't know what the Patriots have got. So Matt Ryan, that entire team has looked completely different since they blew that Super Bowl. So I think Tampa Bay can win this division.
I would say it's possible, but I would say it's more unlikely, just for the sake of the Saints being a powerhouse at the moment. I would say Tom Brady was an improvement to the team, but is not everything they need to win a Super Bowl right now, because they're going to need a better secondary to do that.
Well, I'll say this. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to get that much better. You can just rely on your opponents to mess things up. And the NFC has been very up and down in terms of their teams. Like, there hasn't been a repeat NFC champion since the Seattle Seahawks did it when they had that terrific defense. And the NFC South in particular over the past decade has been very volatile. It's gone up and down consistently. So I'd say that sometimes if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you don't necessarily need to be that much better than everyone else. But if someone like the 49ers or maybe the Saints just have a bad year, which has happened to teams in the NFC, especially in the NFC South over the last decade, if someone just has a bad year, something that can open the pathway for you to make it at least the second or third round of the playoffs.
Well, but here's the thing with that. You can never rely on other people making mistakes to guarantee your success. You always have to assume they're going to live up to their potential. The point is valid, but you can't assume that they're going to make mistakes.
That's fair. I agree with that. But
Anthony, what do you think about the New Orleans Saints roster? Are the Saints head and shoulders above the Bucs?
I don't think so. I think they're a lot closer than what people give them credit for. I mean, I would say maybe the secondary on the New Orleans Saints, they're head and shoulders above Tampa Bay, but I think they match up pretty well in most other positions. That and running back, too, is an issue. People like to downgrade the offensive line on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They finished out 2019 graded the 7th best by Pro Football Focus, mostly because of their interior. So if they go into this draft and add a tackle, a lot is solved.
Yeah, and to think about that with Tom Brady and the way he plays, he's not running out of the pocket. So if your strength is the interior defense guard to guard, even if the tackles have difficulties, his biggest strength is his feet, his awareness in the pocket, and the ability to slide up inside of those tackles that may be beaten, or the defensive ends beating your tackles, and still make the play without taking the hit. I think this, and without seeing a draft, I think the Buccaneers are going to win this division. There you go, Sam Mcginnis.
I mean, you also said Tom Brady.
I think they win 11 or 12 games. What?
I'd be going 10-6 for Tampa Bay and 12-4 or 11-5 for the Saints. That's where I'd be at. But you did also say that.
See, I don't buy the Saints as much as everybody else does.
Well, here's the thing.
I can tell you this. I think the Saints. I mean,
they'll tease with the regular season and then they'll lose in the playoffs. That's going to be their MO for the last 2 seasons. You saw this a lot with the I know this is a different sport, but we saw this with the Nashville Predators. They did well. They backed up until eventually they were out of the playoffs. I don't think that'll happen this year. I think it'll happen next year as Drew Brees starts to decline.
Well, I think we've already seen Drew Brees decline. They don't have Teddy Bridgewater backing him up. I think you'll see them start off the season strong. They might be 7-1 or 8-0. They're still going to end up 11-5. They're going to get beaten in the playoffs. Tom Brady is infinitely better than Drew Brees.
When it comes to the playoffs, I can't
argue that, Sam?
In the playoffs, I would definitely say Tom Brady.
Is there anything else that matters? Is there anything else that matters other than the playoffs?
Well, let's start by making them. That's just as important. Is actually.
I think Tom Brady's done all right at making the playoffs. He's made it a lot more than Drew Brees has, and you can make the case that Drew Brees had a team that could have won the Super Bowl last year. And I think that you can make the case. Yeah, I think you can make the case that maybe no other quarterback could take the Patriots to 11 or 12 wins in the playoffs last year.
I don't know. That would depend.
Put it like this: Sam. Do you think Drew Brees could have taken that Patriots team to the playoffs?
Yeah, I do think that. The reason is he's actually a whole heck of a lot more accurate.
Really? With no wide receivers and very little running game. No. You see, I don't think you get the point that Tom Brady is special. Drew Brees is just a great all-time quarterback. Tom Brady is special.
Sorry.
You just really like Tom Brady.
Well, you know what? How could you not? You're not even an American if you don't like Tom Brady. Come on, he played for the Patriots. He won 6 world championships. He went to 27 million Super Bowls. He's a winner. How can you not like somebody that does things the way they're supposed to do, They don't get busted. They don't get arrested. They don't do bad things. They basically hang out at their house. They work out, and then they go kick everybody's ass while taking less money.
Let me get this straight. You can definitely respect someone and not like them. There's a big difference. And having never done anything wrong,
but why don't you like Tom Brady, Sam?
A whole lot of cheating.
Let's get to the crux of this. Is it because he's attractive and you're jealous?
Oh my God!
So really, why don't you like Tom Brady? What is there to hate about Tom Brady?
His character is lacking. I think definitely
his character is lacking.
Oh, come on.
Spygate and Deflategate.
How's his character lacking?
I literally just said Spygate.
Whoa, Spygate and Deflategate. Wait a second. Deflategate was proven by MIT professors to be a complete hoax. When they checked the Colts balls, they had deflated just as much because it was the weather. And I also tell you this. What do you think about Peyton Manning's integrity?
I don't know enough about Peyton Manning to be real with you.
But you know enough about Tom Brady because balls were deflated that he lacks character. I can tell you this. People that win 5 or 6 championships, especially in a team sport where they have to be followed. I'm not talking about the NBA, stuff like that. But when you have a team sport and you are the leader of that team, if you lack character, even if you're the greatest quarterback at all time, you don't win more than 2. But when you have great character, everybody follows you, you win 6. So what it is right now is, Sam, the reason people say that, if you go back and you look at Deflategate, you can find a YouTube video done by MIT proving it was incorrect. The NFL, even afterwards, admitted it was incorrect. They suspended him for 4 games because he would not give up his cell phone and the pictures in his cell phone and the text. Do you think that the NFL had a right to see his private emails and text?
No, but what would you say about Spygate? I mean, that's straight up taking other people's film. Like, that's not something you're supposed to do.
Wait a second. No. What I would say about – explain Spygate to me then. What happened in Spygate?
So they were taking other people's film that they weren't allowed to be taking it and using it for their benefit.
Yeah, but who, though? Who in the organization was doing that?
How did they use it for their benefit?
I'm sorry, what?
I mean, there was multiple teams busted for that. But on top of that, that film was confiscated before the game was even played.
But you have all that information now, regardless of whether it was.
No, you don't, because they got busted right after it. It doesn't matter what the information is. You know, I mean, with our team, you get a playbook in the email. I don't worry about somebody getting it because I don't really care. It's not going to affect anything. If I do what I'm supposed to do, we're going to win anyways. And the thing is this, you gave me Spygate. I'll give you this. Super Bowl 36, he won because Mike Martz was an idiot who only gave the ball to Marshall Faulk 15 times the entire game. They won the game because their defense was so good. I mean, if you go back and look at the history of the NFL, there's not a team that has not been caught cheating. But also, what you're telling me is Spygate then is Tom Brady's fault, because Tom Brady is a first-year starting quarterback, went up to Bill Belichick, got all these guys with the cameras and said, hey, you need to go spy on them. I mean, chances are, this is the thing. If you're doing that, Sam, there's going to be a lot of players 10 years later writing books to make a little cash that weren't starting at the time that are going to throw you under the bus. It is just like the New Orleans Saints with the Bounty Gate. It was proven to be false. You could go find where the NFL admitted it was false. I mean, the NFL does stuff to get viewers. All right? Spygate and Deflategate helps. Controversy sells.
So,
and you just gave me, wait a second now, and you gave me, you talk about the cheating. But when the balls were inflated again at halftime, am I not correct here that the Patriots beat them even worse, the Colts? And even if you say Super Bowl 36 he cheated, did he cheat in Super Bowl 39? Did he cheat in Super Bowl 38?
Well, here's the thing.
And the other thing is this. Okay, go ahead.
Here's the thing with both of those. When it comes down to it, the NFL doesn't admit a lot of the things that they do. I mean, let's talk about the Lions-Green Bay Packers game just this last year. Clearly the refs were paid off or something happened. That was not a fair game. The NFL never admitted to that. The NFL never did anything. The thing is, there's a lot of stuff we just don't know about. And frankly, whether they were going to win those games or not, because they definitely probably would have, whether they cheated or not, that I was talking you again. You can respect someone's ability to play and not appreciate who they are as a person. There's two big.
But you've not given me any proof to Tom. What's your proof Tom Brady did anything wrong? Because remember, he was suspended for 4 games for not giving up his private cell phone to the NFL.
So here's the thing. In an organization, I remember me and you were straight up talking about this on the phone when we were talking about baseball and cheating. Who is the other person? I think it was Bobby Sheridan, who we were with at the time. But we were talking, and we were saying how when a team is cheating, almost always the players are aware of it. Spygate is cheating regardless of how you put it down. If somebody doesn't tell somebody, there's a problem there automatically with that person's character.
Okay, but Spygate's not true, I don't think. I really don't.
I mean, can you let's spin it this way. Mike, you had said earlier that most teams, most quarterbacks, and this goes in any sport, when you're at the top of the game, you win a couple. You win 2, maybe 3. The Patriots, they won 6. And these great dynasties, the ball bounces their way. And they play in bad divisions, and you push the limits of the rules. I think that's just life.
Regardless of how you put it, I don't really think cheating is acceptable when it comes down to it. And if you want to talk about it's all Tom Brady helping his team get to the top, without Tom Brady, the Patriots are 14-6. So it ain't just I'm not saying it's not.
So they're still pretty good.
It certainly is.
They're not as good as that. How about this? All right, so you're telling me Matt Castle would have won 6 Super Bowls. Spygate was basically, if I remember right, Sam Teets, you can remind me if I'm wrong, but it's when they played the Jets, like the first game of the season, and they supposedly filmed signals. The problem with that is the NFL busted them during the first quarter, 10 minutes into doing it, took the tapes and destroyed them. How does that help Tom Brady win?
You think they did it only that once? They proved it from like 2001 to 2004 they were doing that crap.
Did they? Can you give me some examples?
Give me a second.
Give me some examples. Well, you got to look it up. Looks like you'd be prepared.
You just looked it up, too.
No, I didn't. Because I was looking to decide to see how many people are dumb enough to be listening to us right now.
It wouldn't be surprising at this point. There have been enough debates about Tom Brady over the years. I'm surprised people don't get bored of it.
Well, you're the one who wanted to talk about it. I didn't.
I got another quick thing here. Will the tight ends or the receivers be better for Tom Brady coming into this year? Because they've got good receivers, they've got good tight ends. Which one is going to be the bigger factor, Anthony?
Oh, it's going to be the receivers. The receivers, they have shown a consistent year after year, more so Mike Evans, but, Chris Godwin, he's been good. Last year, he took that huge step. They've shown that they're consistent and dominant, whereas these tight ends, O.J. Howard is flash, but he has not lived up to where he was drafted. They're also rumored to be wanting to trade him, and Cameron Braid is more or less a touchdown guy. So it's going to be these receivers, and the tight ends are going to be complementary pieces.
Yeah, I agree with Anthony there. I think Mike Evans is the big factor. I think Chris Godwin benefits a lot from having Mike Evans playing alongside him, sort of in the similar way that a little while ago for Pittsburgh, Juju Smith-Schuster benefited from playing alongside Antonio Brown. I just know Godwin might have had some better numbers last year, but I think Mike Evans is still the more dominant player physically and just in terms of skill. I do think those two would be the big factor. But I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if Brady develops a kind of chemistry with Cameron Brate and helps O.J. Howard finally reach his potential, because the quarterback changes the scenario where I think he could really work well with Brate. And again, Howard has this point to this point. I think just if he's going to ever work out in the NFL, I think now would be the time for him to actually come out and perform.
Yeah, all right. I think definitely the receivers will be. I think the tight ends will be a big thing for Brady. Like, for instance, he had Gronk. That was very helpful. I think that'll definitely be there. But then here's going to be a little bit of more of an odd comparison. Do you think the offensive line being better than people are saying, because I definitely agree with Anthony on this one, they are, will it be the offensive line or the coach that will help Tom Brady improve more coming into this season, Mike?
I don't think Tom Brady needs a coach. Tom Brady is a coach. Doesn't matter. The offensive line is the difference. If the offensive line is ranked in the top 10, they win. I mean, how are you going to tell Tom Brady what to do? There's no coach in the world that can tell Tom Brady what to do. I mean, he's played since he was born. He's 43 years old. He's won 6 Super Bowls. You may be able to find something you can tweak on him, but there's not going to be a whole lot you can tell him about reading the defense or doing anything. No. I mean, Tom Brady probably has as much to do with the Patriots offense as anybody over the last 10 years, probably.
But, to your point,
question
I
is,
think
what
what
does
separates –
do without him?
What was that?
I said the bigger question may be, what does Josh McDaniels do in New England without Tom Brady to call his offense?
I think the bigger point with Tom Brady is the fact that he might not need a coach, but he's not closed-minded. Tom Brady will go with an open mind and will go in ready to learn from Bruce Arians.
Well, yeah, and that's a good point to have, too, in general, because the thing is you're always going to have something new to be learned regardless of who it's from.
Well, I think we talk about Bruce Arians' system, too. It's very complicated.
I thought you were talking about quarterback coach.
Oh, no.
Go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
No, he doesn't need one of those. But I think I was going to say Bruce Arians' offense is complicated. His system's a little bit complex. And they said, I've heard it takes about 2 years to get used to it. Tom Brady's abnormal. He's very good with this kind of stuff. I don't think it'll take him the full 2 years to get acclimated to the system. But we've also seen once quarterbacks get used to it, I mean, their numbers and their play elevate so much higher for veteran quarterbacks. We saw it happen a little bit with Carson Palmer. Ben Roethlisberger's played in systems with him before, so has Andrew Luck. So I think this is a scenario where you're going to play with a guy who you do have to have a little bit of a learning curve. But if you get that, and even if you don't get it, I mean, you're still Tom Brady, which is still ridiculously great. But even if you manage to reach that level where you are fully acclimated to the system, you're just going to be that much better. So I think there's a sky-high limit here for what Tom Brady can do. I have him at minimum throwing 27 touchdowns next year. I think he'll get over 4,500 yards easily.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely.
Well, I think this. I think that this is not going to be Tom Brady having to adjust to Tampa Bay. I think it's Tampa Bay adjusting to Tom Brady. Because there's things Tom Brady can do that don't really fit the Bucs offense. There's things that he can't do that the Bucs offense needs. I think this is going to be – I guarantee you right now, Bruce Arians and Tom Brady are regularly meeting like this, drawing up the offense so they have a perfect understanding of it. My guess is he probably has most of it down by now anyways. But this is something where you're Bruce Arians. If you're a coach that has an offense that you want to run, but you have a quarterback that is really successful, you kind of meet with that, or you go what that quarterback is used to doing. And what New England's offense was based on, they've got those weapons in Tampa Bay. So I don't think this is going to be Bruce Arians giving Tom Brady a playbook and saying this is what we're going to do. Because really, football plays are football plays. The only really difference is terminology. So you change terminology, you're there. I don't think you're going to see Bruce Arians try to play the same way that he played with Jameis Winston because they're different. They're different type of quarterbacks.
Yeah, it is different systems per the quarterback, so they may very well adjust to it. I'm actually going to answer your question from earlier now because I did, in fact, have to look it up.
Doesn't matter. I don't even remember what it was by now.
You were asking me how many times they had problems with spy
I've been hitting the head since I was 5, man. Come on. Yeah.
So they had problems in 2001, 2007, recently with the Bengals this last year. These things keep coming back up over and over, the same problems. I find the NFL
over and over. That's 3 times. It's 3 times, and we already shot the first 2 down. The only thing you got now is the Bengals. And if anybody really believes Bill Belichick thought he had to cheat to beat OBJ,
cover the 2007 one. Second off, when somebody does, just because you get away with it once or twice, the thing is the NFL pushes cheating under the rug. They do. Again, going back to the Lions Green Bay thing.
They don't with Tom Brady because they'll attack Tom Brady because they don't want Tom Brady to win. They want him to win enough to get them ratings, but they want the Pittsburgh Steelers to win.
They do also want Pittsburgh Steelers to win. I'll give you they want the Pittsburgh Steelers to win.
They don't want the Patriots to win. It's bad for business. They want them. What they want is they'll take the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and what you'll get then is half the people love them, half the people hate them. That is the best kind of team to have in a big game.
Yeah, so what you're telling me is they would want them to win then because it creates a villain, if you will, which adds to
No, I don't think they would. I think they would want the Steelers because Steeler fans are all pathetic, and all Steeler fans are pathetic, even Sam Teets, because they cheat all the time.
Hold it.
Hey,
hold
put
it.
it like this. There are more cases where the Dallas – hey, there's more cases where the Dallas Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have gotten the benefit of the doubt than any other teams in the world by about 30 times over.
The Green Bay Packers.
And they call the Cowboys America's team. The Packers got Lambeau Field, and the Steelers have the biggest fan base.
Let's also not forget that the majority of quite a few of those happened against the Lions. Trust me, I remember those.
They didn't, Sam. You would be foolish to think that because the Lions are not in big enough games for it to really matter. You just got burnt with it in one big game. And remember this. Since the Packers are a bigger moneymaker than the Cowboys beat the Lions on a bull crap call, correct, Anthony? And then the next week they got screwed when they went to Green Bay.
What with the Calvin Johnson and then the Des?
Yeah, y'all got away with one there, but then you played the Green Bay Packers, and the NFL wanted the Green Bay Packers. You know, you look at the Bengals-Steelers playoff game. Come on, the Bengals got robbed in that game. Everybody wants to blame Pac-Man Jones and Vontaze Burfict, but when your coach comes on the field, it's supposed to be an automatic 15-yard penalty, which would have kept Pac-Man Jones and Vontaze Burfict from doing stuff. But they let the Steelers get away with it because they're Steelers and everybody feels sorry for them because most of their women don't have teeth. They're overweight. Nobody's got a job.
Oh, come on with that.
Dang. Wow.
I'm from New Jersey.
I don't like
right.
the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I can clearly.
It's not because you're a Steelers fan.
How are you? Hold on, here's my question. How are you a Steelers fan? You're from Jersey. Yeah.
Look, Jersey's like in the middle of all these different teams, man. It's not all like Giants and Jets fans down here.
Oh, but you're closest to
Yeah, that's why Anthony Cervino from Jersey, but he's a Cowboys fan because all those teams are so close to him.
Yeah, like Pittsburgh. If
Well, they actually Dallas does travel here, so.
Well, there you go.
I have been to Dallas.
Well, every team will travel there. You got anything else, Sam?
Let me look. I may have had one other thing. I gotta look.
Or did you just want to attack Tom Brady the whole time?
Actually, again, as I mentioned, I actually do think they will be successful, but these are things I like to bring up. Plus, you brought up the last one, so that one wasn't even on me. But I will say my overall thought is that most of this is going to depend on how much he declines as time goes on. And I don't think I don't know if it'll be enough this year to make a big enough difference that they will miss the playoffs. I think they'll probably go 10-6, win a playoff game or something like that. They won't make it past the second round, I don't think. Not to say the Bucs don't have potential for more, but I think definitely at some point you do have to consider the fact that every athlete starts to decline as age comes with time. And he's not also in his element either.
What's his element? Cold?
His element is cold and the Patriots, both of which he has had since the dawn of his NFL pro football, everything.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this. I'd bet you almost any amount of money the Bucs have a better record with Tom Brady than the Patriots do without.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's so much as to do with Tom Brady leaving those because they have issues. We just got done talking about. They have issues regardless of Tom Brady or not. Like they're lacking in receivers. They're having didn't they have they had a significant injury problem last year. They have other problems that are going to cause that. And then you have an unproven quarterback that's going to.
But how about this? They'll be 6-10 this year at best. But if they would have had Tom Brady, they'd have still been in the playoffs. They wouldn't have been a Super Bowl contender, but they'd have been a Super Bowl threat. Well, then you're wrong because we just saw it this last year, and they were 12-4 or 11-5 and in the playoffs.
Well, the other thing you have to consider is everybody's like he didn't have weapons. First off, let's talk. He had the number 1 defense in the league per the actual stat.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. I mean, you really believe the New England Patriots had the best defense in the NFL? I don't have to look anything up, Sam. I watch the games. I also know they play in a weak conference. How many games did they have where they beat a team above 500?
I don't think either of us know that. Let me look.
Really? You don't think either of us know that? You think I'm going to ask you a question and not know the answer to it? I would risk being wrong then, Sam.
You've definitely done that before.
No, I haven't. I've never risked being wrong because I haven't been wrong talking to you ever on one of these shows. Go ahead. I'm going to guess like 2 or 3 wins.
Well, it also depends on how many teams they played over 500.
Listen, they didn't have many. I would side with Mike here.
No.
Because as a
and that was not the best defense.
I dealt with all season Dallas not beating teams over 500, and I really don't think
5, 6. So, as of I typed in 2019. I think this is actually their 2018 one. Let me look.
Yeah, I don't think you're looking. It's definitely not 6. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, I think it's because I pulled 2019, but this is definitely not 2019.
It looks like 3 or 4.
How many teams above 500 did they play, though, is the question. Because if they played like 8, then I would be more understanding.
Well, let's put it this way. They lost to the Chiefs. They lost to the Patriots. They lost to
the Patriots,
the Ravens. Oh. So that's 3 teams right there. 3 of their losses were to teams with good records.
And they gave up a lot of points against good teams.
Hold it. You just said the Patriots. The Patriots can't lose to themselves, though.
I mean, Buffalo. Well, yeah.
What I said?
Buffalo, yeah, I think is what he was trying to.
They beat Buffalo
Baltimore.
twice.
They beat Buffalo twice.
Baltimore, Kansas City, and Houston.
How many points did they give up in each one of those 3 games?
They gave up 37 to the Ravens. They gave up 28 to the Texans and 23 to the Chiefs.
Considering the Chiefs and Texans
are the best defense in the NFL. Well, I think you have to consider, wasn't that Mahomes' first game back from his injury, too? And I don't think you can consider the Ravens D. Hey, if you're giving up 37 to the Ravens, you don't have the best defense in the NFL. I would take the Titans defense over the Patriots last year.
The Titans defense was really good. I would have a hard time.
At the end of the year, I would have taken the Chiefs defense over the Patriots the last half of the season. Because I think that if you look at you laugh all you want, but I watched them in the Super Bowl make the difference, and Anthony Cervino told everybody it was going to happen. So you're laughing at Anthony and me. And Anthony's from Jersey, which means he's probably got mob ties. You don't want to laugh at him.
No, we don't really talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. Yeah, just like I'm from Indiana, I'm probably in a militia with a bunch of crazy skinheads, but you never know. So, but really, I mean, if you look at the first 8 games of the season, their competition was crap. They ran everything up. Then last 8 weeks of the season was not that great. And I think that the Patriots had a really good defense. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying I don't think they had the best defense in the NFL last year.
I can see that. I still think they probably were, but I can definitely see that from that perspective. But how
many points a game did they give up?
I don't know that one. The last one I got is I'm pretty sure all of us here think they're going to make the playoffs. I would think all of us here think that. But what do you think the length of their playoff stay will be, Anthony?
The Buccaneers?
We're talking about Tampa?
Yeah, we're talking about Tampa.
Their ceiling is the Super Bowl.
But how far do you think they get? If you had to say right now, how far? Games? I'm curious.
Super Bowl.
I think realistically, if the fairy tale plays out, I think it'll be 49ers and Garoppolo versus Tampa and Tom, and Tom goes on. That's how I see it coming out.
All right, Sam?
I'd say conference championship. I'm not going to bet Super Bowl, but I do think they definitely have that potential. I've said in on Twitter before too. I believe they can make the Super Bowl easily, but I'd say conference championship probably is the more reliable shot right now.
Yeah, and I think we know what Mike.
I would say that. No, Mike thinks this. The Bengals are winning the Super Bowl for the next 22 years, anyways, with Joe Burrow. So really, Tom Brady probably should just retire because he can't win a Super Bowl now. He can go to him, but he won't be able to win them because Joe Burrow is the greatest quarterback that God's ever created.
Oh, I just feel
bad. I feel bad for you. You're a Lions fan. In my lifetime, I've seen my team go to the Super Bowl twice. Yeah. In my lifetime, and I'm like, 50, I'm going to be – Sam, I'm going to be 52, and in my lifetime, I've only seen your team make it even to a championship game once.
In his lifetime, he saw Jim Thorpe play 6 sports.
Yeah, I did. All 6. Now we got to explain to Sam who Jim Thorpe is, and the other Sam, both Sams. I've seen things. I've seen the Houston Oilers almost make it to the Super Bowl. They don't even exist anymore.
Yeah, that's true. They don't.
They don't. I mean, I've seen some things, Sam, and I'm hardened by it.
Yeah, I don't think that I'm saying with great confidence that if the Lions win a Super Bowl in my lifetime, it'll be when I'm like 80-something. Assuming I'm not dead.
Sam, they won't.
I know. It's false.
No,
don't
you'll
hold
be
out
dead.
hope.
They're not.
It's false hope.
No. Because you can't have Joe Burrow. If you could have Joe Burrow, then you could win a Super Bowl. But you don't.
If we didn't have the Fords, we'd be in a much better place. Because you can't tell me Matthew Stafford isn't a really great player. He's not necessarily like
I agree. I think if you guys, I've always been against Fords. I don't know. We could ask Sam and Anthony. Don't you like Chevys better? Even Dodges.
I don't know about Dodges. I think Chevys are good, though. I like Chevys better.
Yeah. So that's the bad thing. You're like last place in cars. You're last place in everything.
Pretty
Detroit.
much. I would say, yeah.
You're first in like homicides, though.
It's definitely the management that has killed the organization because the biggest problem is they'll get a few good players. And then if you look at recently, not too long ago, what they did with Matthew Stafford, they overpaid him like tenfold, and now they can't pay for anybody they need to. And I don't know what idea they had when they were getting rid of Darius Slay, what stupid idea that was. But the thing is the management is all about making the buck instead of making the game. And I think that's the problem.
All right. I got a question before we wrap this up. I want to ask Anthony. Anthony, how's the Bowflex training going?
Assuming he responds, he's not even going to talk about
Anthony!
it. He's not going to ignore it.
He's got himself on mute. I was talking about it, forgot.
Yeah, he's just going to ignore you.
Man. If Anthony doesn't answer, we're going to go back to his Twitter. We're going to share the screen of him working out on his Bowflex.
Wait, well, what am I answering here?
I had a serious question. Before we wrapped it up, I wanted to know how the Bowflex training was going.
It's going good.
All right.
I'm not. I train at least 5 days a week.
Okay. Sam, how's your training going? Teets.
It's going all right. I'm just trying to hang in there, really.
You could use. I mean, you look like you could use some meat on your bones. You look like you're built about like Sam.
Probably. I mean, it looks like it.
All right. Sam Mcginnis, do you have any final parting words of wisdom?
I would say just as football is and every other sport, you really can think a lot of things can happen from either of our perspectives and be totally wrong because sports can be very unpredictable. So I would say regardless of what we say here, we've got a lot to watch before we can be more confident about it.
All right. I would like to say that I'm going to be right anyway. Sam Teets, anything else you want to add?
No, I'm not. You think you guys
Sam, I
covered
think it's safe to
everything
say that I'm usually right.
pretty much. But you're more correct than me usually on these shows, but we'll get there one day.
All right. Anthony?
And any final thoughts? No, not really. I think I left it all on the show.
Well, tell everybody where they can find you on the FF Face-Off.
You can follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru, and you can follow my show at the FF Face Off, and we can be found at all of the top social media and podcast platforms.
All right. Sam Teets, you want to tell everybody can find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Sam_Teets33 on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I'm constantly posting new polls, articles, and stats there, so feel free to go check that out.
All right. Sam Mcginnis doesn't never write anything. He just does some shows, so he'll be back on with us at some point. Sam, you want to tell everybody where they can follow you at Twitter?
Yeah, you can find me at SamuelMcG22. I'm actually gonna write an article about what we talked about today. It's not gonna have a prediction because I'm not. I may go along with the 10-6, but I'm just laying the information that I see out there. As for the you'll find mostly NHL content because I'm more on that end of things. And oddly enough, the NHL may be restarting in North Dakota with 24 teams, and I believe the idea behind it is those are the only 24 teams that can make the playoffs at this point.
So your Red Wings season's over.
What?
So the Red Wings season is over.
The Red Wings season was over as soon as I realized that the goal differential was, minus 100 plus. At that moment, there was no comeback.
All right. I don't think there's any chance you're going to see hockey in North Dakota, by the way.
You're probably right. I'm just, again, I'm going with false hope as much as I can. It depends on how much money they're willing to bleed before they start the season, or if they'll be allowed to restart the season at all.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Anthony, you guys good for 2:30 tomorrow?
It's not like they're going anywhere.
2:30. I've got class tomorrow, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll just go Wednesday then, and the draft is Thursday, correct?
Oh,
Correct.
All right. Because I got to remember what days what anymore because I don't know. They just all kind of run together. It's like an old Bill Murray movie, Groundhog Day. All right, guys. Remember, you can find us on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, to GruelingTruth.com. You can follow us at Grueling Truth. But for now, for Sam Teets, Sam Mcginnis, Anthony Cervino, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.